Welcome to the Vendors of Wichita podcast. This is our first official episode. We are here in studio,
Yep.
and we're going to give a shout out to one of our sponsors here in just a little bit. But this is, like I said, the first official podcast episode. We're covering a topic today. We got four of us in studio. I'm going to introduce myself. We can just kind of go around and introduce ourselves, and we'll start with you, and then we'll go this way.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jaylee Hennessy. I am one of the VOW founders.
Yeah.
I also own Hennessy Social, a digital marketing company here in Wichita. And
Heck yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I am Chris. I am part one of the husband-wife wedding photography duo, Chris and Lara.
Yeah.
So I'm Chris.
And I'm Lara, the other half.
The
Maybe
better half.
The better half.
Yep.
And
That
I'm
is widely the belief.
Ashley. I have to speak up.
Yeah.
And I'm Ashley, one half of K&B, a wedding photographer also in Wichita.
And so today we wanted to, and I'll kind of dive into like why we wanted to have you on the podcast, because I think today, like this topic is absolutely perfect to have you on for this one. It's definitely something that I think all of us here believe in. But before I get to that, I want to highlight two things, just a little bit of housekeeping. Number one, we want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Podcast Solutions. They are a podcast studio here in Wichita, Kansas. You can find their link in the show notes. Go check them out. If you have a podcast that you want to record, man, if you have a topic but you don't know how to do it, they can help you. So their studio is top of the line.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So
good.
beautiful.
They brought us champagne.
Yeah.
They had all the drinks. It was awesome. So
Energy drink.
they have
Yes.
all of it,
Yeah.
all of it. And they're amazing people. So 100% go check them out in the show notes. I also want to highlight a amazing resource that we have for all couples that are planning their weddings. It is a beefy 23-page PDF, and we're calling it the Wedding Toolbox. Or the Wedding Toolkit. The Wedding Tool something. I think it might be Toolbox.
Have I seen this?
Toolkit?
You've seen it. You created
Did I make it?
Yes.
Yeah. That was like a while ago. So I'm
Yeah.
just sitting here like, I feel like I've seen this. This sounds
you
familiar.
definitely
Yeah.
saw
You
it. You
made that.
definitely made it.
Yeah.
She created it. So go find it. It's in our show notes. This is a resource that we created for couples who are planning their weddings to work through with their significant other as a team to kind of help you. And it's not like wedding planning stuff like you might think like step one, do this. It's kind of like some different things like how to one of the topics we're going to be talking about today. But other things in it will be like how to help create your guest list, I think is one of them.
Mhm.
Like some mental health stuff is in there. It's just really great.
Honestly, the guest list is like incredible.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things that you should do. So definitely download that
Truthfully.
solely for that reason.
I think
I don't think
let me
people
double-check this
think
real
about
quick.
that you should actually kind of have a guest list count
Like
idea
first.
before you even pick a venue, because
Yeah.
that
For sure.
would
Yeah.
kind of
So
determine.
there's actually 4 exercises. So there's 4 topics paired with exercises to do. The first one is the one that we're going to cover today. The second one is called crafting your dream guest list. The third one is finding your perfect vendor match. And the last one is kicking comparison to the curb.
Honestly, in that order
yeah.
Yeah.
is like a absolutely beautiful way to kickstart wedding planning.
And that kind of leads us kind of into today's topic, because that first exercise that you're going to encounter when you open this wedding toolkit is this exercise is called managing your expectations and finding your wedding why. We're not going to necessarily dive into the expectations piece in this one. In this episode, that might be a different episode. It might get touched on here and there because it is a big thing, but we're going to dive into this idea and this concept of wedding why and what it is, why you should know about it, and why you should implement it. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but so Lara and I are wedding photographers, and Ashley and her business partner are wedding photographers. So we get to work with couples on between the both of us, weekly basis, probably
Yeah.
between our businesses. And so we're working with a lot of couples, and we're seeing a lot of this kind of pan out and why, like wedding why stuff and why they need a wedding why. Jaylee, you, I think, are uniquely positioned to offer some insight into this because you've had quite a few friends. Like you're at how old are you?
22.
So you have a lot of friends who are getting married.
Yeah.
I feel like they're getting engaged.
Beginning.
They're getting
Yeah.
married. You have like, I feel like last summer you had or even this summer, you had so many
Yes.
weddings.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all the wedding things. And so I really want you to feel free to like chime in on this
For sure.
episode
Yeah.
with any thoughts that you might have from the perspective of someone who has been taking notes for their wedding. I feel like you told
Yeah.
me that. Like,
I have a whole Pinterest board. It's already played out.
so there's like all this, but
Perfect.
this kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about is
Yes.
like the stuff that you're not going to find on a Pinterest.
No.
And you're not going to
Yes.
find it. You may hear about it here and there, but it's not really the popular content, but
Not at
it
all.
should be because
Yeah.
Mm.
this topic is going to be a game changer for anyone who's planning their wedding. So, with that being said, let's talk about the problem and why a wedding why is even a solution before we define it. So, I'm going to kick that to anyone who wants to contribute to this.
I think one of the biggest problems as somebody who's stepping into planning a wedding is that there's so much information coming at you on Pinterest, on Instagram, on like your friends are getting married and you're seeing what your friends are doing. So as say you're just getting engaged and you just went to a wedding and you have this plan and now all of a sudden you saw that they did this really cool, I'm going to be extreme, but like they did a helicopter entrance. So now you're like, now I want a helicopter entrance. And then they did letters to, which I think this is actually really cool, like letters to every single like table
Oh, yeah,
at
I've
their
seen that.
reception.
Yeah.
And now you want to do letters to every table at the reception. And then you see on Instagram that the new thing is to get a second outfit for an outfit change at the reception. And now you want to do that. And while a lot of those things are really great, what you start to run into is that you're in a way keeping up with the Joneses, like you're following the trend and you're almost like chasing, you know, that visual of a cartoon where there's like a carrot that's in front of a
Mhm.
like an animal
Yep.
and the animal's just like chasing the carrot, but they never actually catch the carrot.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're the animal, all the trends are the carrot, and you never actually like achieve where you want to be with your wedding and like feel that sense of fulfillment because all you're doing is chasing trends.
Yeah.
And so this is like
Mhm.
the solution so that you can feel that fulfillment.
100%.
Keeps you on track.
100%. And we kind of even like Lara and I, we had a 10-year anniversary party last year, and we kind of even felt a little bit of that with like, ooh, more so from me, less from you.
Yeah.
I kind of
The
was
shiny
taking
things.
all the shiny
Yes.
things.
The
I mean,
midnight snacks. all the
yeah.
fun
Oh,
things.
yeah.
I mean, there's times
Yes.
where, like, honestly, I think you don't know what you want, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can find value in like seeing the trends and kind of like to gauge what you want.
Well, because you've never
but-
done this before.
because you've never done it. But you know, if there are a few key things, like it's important to stay true to those, I think.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when you set a plan, you're like, okay, you and your partner, your fiance set a plan and you're like, this is what we're going to do. But then somewhere along the way it's like, oh, and this. And
Mhm.
this. Oh, but somehow
Mhm.
so it's like you keep adding and stacking all
Yeah.
of these things, and before you know it, you're over budget.
yeah,
I
It's
mean-
like
that
a
happened pretty
lot.
quick, actually.
I'm sure. Have you heard this like from other couples? I was going to say the stories, but from couples when they're like, oh, we're going to do, just like 130 person wedding and it's just going to be,
I was
smaller.
literally thinking the size. Yeah.
And then before they know it, everything gets out of hand.
It's
And now they're
250
throwing
people.
this huge, elaborate wedding
Yeah.
when they both of them
Yes.
were like, we don't want a wedding in the first place. Like,
Yeah.
like a big wedding, they
Yeah.
wanted something intimate. And then
Yeah.
it gets out of hand and all of a sudden they have a 300 person guest list and their budget's ballooned and
Yeah.
popped.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they like just wanted to do like hors d'oeuvres or something, like cocktail hour, kind of something low key, and then now all of a sudden they feel the pressure, like, wait, like we should do a sit
There's
down
like
dinner.
there's like those
and that's a very different like
those
budget.
servers.
Yeah,
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 you know, they're like those
yeah.
servers with like the penguin tail like tuxes and they're walking around with the silver thing. And
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, we didn't even like how did our original plan turn into this?
Yes.
Right.
And a lot of times when couples realize that it's too late, the wedding day has came, or it's the day of the wedding, or it's them reflecting back on their wedding. And so we have a solution to help couples navigate
Mhm.
all of this so that they can start their wedding planning journey on the right track. And even if you're not at the very beginning, no matter where you are, you can always implement this idea of having a wedding why in the beginning, the middle, shoot, even towards the end goal. Like
Yeah.
you can still kind of like
You always want to go
refocus
back.
and go
Oh,
back
yeah.
to. So I'm gonna read the definition that is actually in the wedding toolbox that we have. And then feel free to like give your thoughts on wedding why or interject or anything like that. But here's how we would define it. Defining your wedding why is like having a trusty compass guiding you through the sometimes overwhelming world of wedding planning. When faced with countless decisions and options, your why serves as a shining beacon illuminating the path to a celebration that truly reflects your unique love story. Different analogy. Your wedding why is if you've ever gone bumpers, or if you've ever gone bowling, sorry. If you've ever gone bowling, your wedding why is the bumpers that keep the bowling ball headed towards the pins, like the goal. It keeps you from going out of bounds, and it keeps you from doing things, hiring people, incorporating extra things that you didn't want in the first place. It keeps you focused on like, this is our North Star. This is
Yeah.
what we're aiming
What's
for.
really important.
Yeah.
One of the questions that always struck me as almost a North Star to the wedding why in general was asking yourself, like, you can get married and go to the courthouse and get your marriage certificate and be married. Like, you don't have to throw any
Yeah.
kind of party. You
Truly.
don't have to
Yeah.
even have an intimate dinner. Like, you don't have to do anything to get married. So the wedding why stems from, why are you having a wedding? A lot of people's answers are like, I want to bring my two families together. And like, yeah, that's beautiful, but that's like slightly vague.
Yeah.
Like, if we can dive deeper into the bringing the people together, then I feel like that gives you that North Star to make decisions based on why you're having a wedding in the first place.
Yeah,
I-
for sure.
I know I said we weren't going to dive into expectations, but I feel like we can't have this conversation without talking about expectations
sure.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know that like people really start off wedding planning thinking about the expectations that they have, right? A lot of times people will find out their expectations because they get upset about something and then they realize like, oh, I'm upset because I had an expectation that this would happen and then it didn't happen. So oftentimes you find out, oh, I didn't even realize I had an expectation,
Yep.
Yeah.
but I did. And so like, what does it look like to start off and ask the question? And I'm kind of walking through this workbook that we have that we've told you guys about. But the first question in this is, what expectations do you have about your wedding day? What expectations do you have about what your wedding day should be like?
Should
honest
is the
with
key
yourself.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some common expectations that you think people have about their day? And I'm kinda
Everybody
tossing
needs to
this-
be on the dance floor or it's not a
Yes.
good time. Like,
Mhm.
I feel
That's
like
a good
I
one.
even felt that when I had a wedding reception. I felt if everybody's not on the dance floor, it's not successful. And like, that's something you carry with you.
And in like all now there are bangers where
For
from
sure.
the time the dance floor opens to the time it closes, that dance floor is packed.
And also, if that's your wedding why is to throw a party and have a dance party of all century, then make
But I feel like people that want that, they know they
They
want
know
that.
they want
and
that.
they like
Yes,
do
they're
all
gonna
the
do everything.
things.
Like
Yes.
our New Year's Eve weddings. They're
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
we want
Yeah.
a good reason to throw
They're
Yes.
gonna have like a
badass
little
party.
donkey with. Have you guys seen that trend where someone's got a donkey and then on the back of the donkey it's like a table that like has tequila and they're like going out and they have like a little guy
Yeah,
in a
I've
Mexican
seen
hat. They're
that.
like giving like
No, but I
tequila
love it.
shots.
People have a good
Yeah,
time.
that's like
Yeah.
that screams. I want to have a rager
Yes.
party dance. Like
Yes.
we're
they're
gonna get it
making
started.
decisions for
But
that.
it's like if the expectation is that everyone's on the dance floor, like what decisions are you going to make to make people want to be on the dance
Right.
floor?
And
Like-
how many of us, like, that is an expectation I think all people have because that's like a visual cue for your brain to be like, I know people are having a good time if they're on the dance floor.
Yeah.
But I've got to be honest, a lot of the weddings that I do, my couple is not a dance floor people. They're not
Yeah.
dance floor
Yeah.
people.
And
And
if-
generally, you're not attracting dance floor people either.
Yes,
Well,
and you
and
run into that problem all the time, especially with like weddings. You're gonna see people leave early after dinner
Oof.
before
Yeah.
dances.
Man, that's a good
And
expectation.
expectations of being like, man, that was my coworker and she just left early. Like,
Yeah.
and then you think about that the next couple days, you
You're
know?
bummed.
And I don't think that's something that couples expect is like,
Yes, it
oh,
happens very
people
often.
might leave
Yeah,
early.
like,
They
I don't
might
think
not
anyone
stay on the
thinks-
dance floor.
I don't think anyone thinks that people will leave their party early.
And I know
Yeah.
something
Like that's
people
an expectation that they have. Like I expect people
Yes.
to stay till the end of the night.
and they
Yes.
express, I mean, I hear it where they're like, I really just don't want people to leave early.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in doing that, it's like, okay, well, let's make decisions to prevent that from happening.
Yes,
And
Right.
yeah.
we can't control people. So that's another thing
Exactly.
is like, let go of the expectations on
Yep.
other people because
Yeah.
the people
Someone's
who
gonna
want to
disappoint
be
you.
exactly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't control them.
Yep.
But
Any other ones that come to mind? We'll do one more. Let's see if we can kind
Okay.
of think of one more that kind of comes to mind.
I would
with this.
say with expectations, not even just with the wedding itself, but the wedding planning process of like your best friends showing up for you.
oh,
Your
my
best
God.
friend
Oh,
showing
Yes,
Right.
like
to-
pre-wedding,
Yes,
like
like,
bachelorette, like
I had a
bridal
best friend
showers.
who like just had a trip planned for a weekend and then like someone in her family is getting married, and now they have bridal shopping to do, and so now she's like, okay, well, I have to cancel my trip now to go dress shopping, which is fine, but it's like those expectations of like, okay, like how am I going to show up, but also have a life, also be a bridesmaid,
Like, what am I
and
going to expect
Yeah.
of the people who are
yes,
involved? Like,
yes, and the money that
yeah,
goes into bachelor and bachelorette parties, and the money that goes into getting your dress and your makeup and your hair done, and all of those
yeah.
things. And something that I really have seen that was beneficial from past weddings I've been in is they send out a survey to us,
Hmm.
basically asking us like, what's the budget gonna look like for like your bachelorette party? So she basically said like, does this number make you uncomfortable? And she had options.
Oh, I love
What an
that.
angel
Yes.
sent from
Yes.
That's so
heaven.
considerate.
And which
That
her
sets
bachelorette party was in
expectations for
Dallas,
her.
and that's where she landed. And so some people could fly in, some people could drive. But also we found an Airbnb that worked for everybody.
I love
And
that.
obviously she couldn't make everyone's needs meet, but it still was something that she could make most people comfortable, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
There was like
That's
effort
so
put in.
considerate.
It wasn't just
Beautiful.
like
I love that.
expecting everybody
Yes.
to like drop this
And
big
even had
number
questions
or
like, are
go
you
to
getting
this
your hair and
place.
makeup done on the wedding day? Like, are you okay
Yeah.
with paying this price? This is who I'm
Yeah.
hiring. Like, just things like that.
Yeah. No, that's
Well,
good.
and an interesting thing, the second question in this is what are the deep emotions behind these expectations? And I think this says a lot. So like let's go back to the dance floor analogy and or even people leaving early. A lot of times I think those feel like a reflection of the host.
Yeah.
Well, if
Like
people
I'm a failure.
I'm a failure, or
Mhm.
people they left because they weren't having a good time, or they didn't think it was good, or it's anything. And a lot of these, it's assumptions. Like
Right.
Mhm.
we're making assumptions, and a lot of those assumptions are based off of deep emotional fears that we might have, or like um insecurities that we
Mhm.
have, like
Absolutely.
all sorts of things. And so, like thinking through what your expectations are is going to help you like kind of recenter yourself whenever that situation does happen. Oh, people aren't on the dance floor right now. Okay, I'm fine. We talked about this. We thought through this. Like, we know that as long as we have our core group, like our friends, and a lot of times that's who it is, right? Like,
For
Oh,
sure.
at the end of
it's
the night,
almost
it's your core.
always
Yes.
Like,
them.
they're
Yeah.
there,
And
your wedding party.
communicate with your bridal party. I mean, my best friend, she was like, I want us to be on the dance floor. So I'm like, I will be on the dance floor that night. You
Yeah.
know, whatever it takes, get your significant others, like
Yeah.
communicate with your bridal party with like what your expectations are.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Let's talk a little more about wedding why, unless you guys have anything else on expectations.
Well, I think that this pivots into the why. Like we have this expectation that people don't leave early. And if we have this expectation, especially going into the wedding without thinking about it, like that's just an expectation that you have. And
Like subconsciously.
yes, it's
like not
subconscious.
even like you wouldn't even think that's something that you would have to question.
Exactly. And then you're bummed and you're like, oh crap, I had an internal expectation.
Yeah.
When you figure out and dive into your wedding why, and like this worksheet that's linked in the show notes helps you uncover that wedding why together as an activity with you and your partner. When you find it, those expectations kind of can like fade away because
Yeah.
you have that North Star, you have that purpose, and it's not muddled.
Muddied,
Muddied?
muddled.
Yeah.
Either.
I think
Yeah,
they're
that
both.
works.
Yeah. It's not muddied by all of the other external expectations that you put on yourself that you don't really care about and you don't know why you have them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
100%. And that's why it like allows you, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but it just allows you to refocus. Like we said earlier, North Star, like it's your guiding light. It's the
Yeah.
thing that you go to follow when you've lost your way. Like that's people in the olden days. That's our daughter says that phrase all the time. She calls it the
Yeah.
olden days. But
In the
people
late
olden days,
1900s.
they
Yeah.
would, when they lost their way, they're like, all right, we just got to find North Star. And then
Yeah.
we can get right back on track. Okay, that's north. We know
Yeah.
we need to go south. Like this is the same thing. Like, okay, our wedding why is that we want to bring all of we want to have fun together and celebrate our day with our best friends and family. And it's going to be
Mhm.
intimate. It's not going to be this big thing.
Yeah.
But if like fun is the foundation,
yeah.
then you're like, well, maybe we want dinner to be fun
I was
too.
going to say, like, what if it's experiencing food? Like, we want
Mhm.
everybody to experience all of our favorite foods and sharing that with us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's your.
And you're like,
Yeah.
it's not this steak plated dinner. There's nothing wrong with steak plated dinners, but let's say it's something to where it's like you have this fusion food place
Fun food.
that does
Yeah, or
the-
do
food
food trucks.
these
Do food
fun
trucks
things, food
instead of-
trucks
yeah.
or fusion foods, but you want people to experience that. Like that guides your thing versus like, what do you feel like eating, or what do your parents think? Like, let's be honest, a lot of times parents care more about what's served on a wedding day than the people because
Mhm.
it feels like a reflection of themselves. But um, that's a way that like your wedding why can guide your food choice, or
Yeah,
it
it
can
it could help structure your day and like who you
100%.
choose and like even you think about having like if the most important thing is like that I'm spending time with my person at some point like it's about us and I want to celebrate that marriage. I want to make sure that that time happens. It's like structuring your day. It's like how am I going to have intimate moments with my person all throughout the day? How is that
Ooh, dude,
happening? Because
let me
if you don't
yeah.
plan for it,
It doesn't
it
happen. And we
doesn't
say this to our
happen.
couples all the time
Yeah.
when we create wedding timelines. If you don't plan for it, it's not going to happen. And so, an instance right here, like I'm going to take what you said, like maybe your wedding why is to spend a majority of the day with your person, enjoying them, getting ready, like all of that stuff. Like, and then, but then you also want to have everyone there to party at the end of the night, have a
Right.
big thing. So maybe your day looks like you guys getting breakfast together and going to that coffee shop or that
Yeah.
diner or that wherever. And then you go back to the hotel or wherever your Airbnb is. And then you guys get ready
Yeah.
together.
The
And the only
decisions
people are
that
there are your photographer and videographer.
right.
And then you guys go on I don't know, something else. You do a
Yeah.
little, but then even you decide to not even have a wedding party.
Yeah, something like
Like,
that.
so that it's just you two,
Mhm.
but your friends will be there and they'll be
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like, hey, you guys all wear green. And then
Mhm.
you're,
And
or
like
you
I
wear
still want to
blue.
get like some pictures with you
Right.
For
guys
sure.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
At
Like
yeah.
I
some
still want a
point.
group photo with
Yeah.
you. So let's
Yeah.
coordinate because it's cute and fun, but
Yeah.
the
Take the pressure
focus,
The
off. Yeah.
focus. And that's your wedding why.
Yeah, the
Like that's your
decisions
North
that you
Star.
make
Yeah.
if that's your
support
North Star.
your
If that's
wedding
your,
why.
if that's your
Yeah.
North Star. Right.
Because
It
that
might not
it
be.
might be, maybe
It can
you're
be anything.
yeah, like and there's no judgment on what that is.
Mhm.
Maybe it is partying with your friends. Like maybe you have this one friend group and you all are intertwined and you're so
Yes.
excited to
Yeah.
like kind of
Be
officially
together.
unite it. And
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
so then your decisions are around that. And like so there's
Yeah, like
no
let's say everyone is college friends that they've all moved and they're on different
Yeah.
parts of the country. And so now your wedding why is like we've been friends forever. We're all friends and we're going to make it a wedding weekend and people are getting like a wedding week and we're going to have things that we do and we're going to do a little less for the ceremony and like this and we're going to not spend as much on florals. We're going to have no florals so that we can all go rock climbing at this,
Yes,
like
you're like the point
Yes.
was to bring people
bring
together. Like,
people
how can we
together.
support that in the decisions that we make? You know?
It doesn't have to just look how most of them look.
yeah,
Right.
it's a
Right.
copy and paste. Most weddings can be a copy and paste if you're not intentional about it. And I'm gonna like rewind to a few years ago. This concept was born post pandemic because I
Yeah.
feel like everybody was super unsure about how to celebrate and how to be. And
Yeah.
weddings were getting out of control to a degree. And this like concept of wedding why has been proven. Like we have experienced multiple couples who have said, without you guys sharing about the wedding why, and I say multiple, like a ton of couples that
Yeah.
are like,
Mhm.
without you talking about the wedding why and guiding us with this idea, like my wedding would not have been at all intentional or unique or felt like us. And
Mhm.
so like the way I don't know how to emphasize more how vital and important this can be for you and pivotal for your whole event and navigating even difficult conversations with family members. And
Yeah.
like it is so beautiful and important,
I agree.
vital.
It's like it's how you can even decide like how am I going to spend my time on my wedding day? What am I going to invest in financially?
yeah,
Like
my money.
Mhm.
yeah, it's just it's all the decisions that support your wedding why that matters.
And it's proven.
It's proven.
It's
Yeah.
proven.
This is one of those things that you're right. Like we have had so many people tell us like this impacted my day. It changed the trajectory. It gave me permission. And a lot of times people I feel like they just need that permission. Like, hey, you have permission to do things your
Differently.
own way.
Yes.
What's
Yeah.
the line
Differently.
that we tell our couples?
You can either embrace wedding day tradition or not. You can do whatever you want. At
You
the
can
end of the
choose-
day,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's your wedding day and how you want to spend it.
You can
Right.
you can embrace tradition, you can reject parts of it, you can throw it all out. Like it's your day.
Yeah, it does not have to look like anyone else's. You know, it
Yeah.
can be true to who you are as a couple.
You brought up a word that hasn't come up yet. And I'm really surprised that we didn't throw it out there yet, but you said intentional. Because this is a big part of this, like intentional wedding plannings. there is a gravitational pull when you start planning your wedding to just do what you've seen done
Yep.
and to just
Mhm.
do or to
Again,
outdo. It's to do or
expectations.
to
Yes.
outdo and the
Yeah.
expectations. Like there is a gravitational pull to that. And if you like take wedding Y and you decide like, no, I am going to draw the line in the sand. I'm not going to be pulled that way. Like I'm going to embrace this. And me and my partner, we're going to do things our way. And some of that is like all of it is being intentional because it doesn't just happen by accident. Like you
Mhm.
have to start somewhere and go, no, we're not going to do that. Do it that way. We're going to be intentional and we're going to have intentionality, which is just choosing to like, I don't know the best way to describe intentional with
Yeah.
just like being intentional.
Like
You're making
you're
a
thinking
conscious
about
choice.
you're thinking
Yeah.
about it with purpose. You're not just going through the motions. And I mean, even that with creating your timeline with your planner or your photographer, like if you don't go into it with a purpose, it's A, gonna fly by, B, you're gonna be like, where did my day go? And C, memories. I feel like it's these intentional moments, creating space with purpose that you look back on and you're like, I'm so thankful that we put the extra time and effort
Yeah.
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 into that decision.
So how would you discover your wedding why? I mean, I think you kind of touched on it with the question of like, why are you even doing this?
Yeah.
You know, it's like at
The
the end of the
steps
day,
of it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
not everybody has to have
And what if
a
you and your
formal
partner
wedding.
don't agree? Like what
That's
Yeah.
good.
something that, he
Uh,
might really be a big partier or something and you want very intimate, small, you're
Or
the
like
opposite.
yeah. How can you
How can you
compromise?
navigate that?
I
Yeah.
think some of that is there are going to have to be some conversations to where, and this is where like what I love about this is the stigma of I'm going to use a hetero relationship here, but
Mhm.
like between a man and a woman to where the woman cares, and the man doesn't. What
Yes.
this
Yeah.
really does is this allows both partners, man or woman, man and man, woman and
Mhm.
woman, whoever, like to really both carry the load and to have like a say in the wedding and to
Mhm.
really like
Well, and
own
they
it
both
and
can
to
buy in and like be
yes.
on board and be like, oh, I didn't realize that I
Could have a say
could.
here
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's a
Totally.
big thing right now too. Yeah.
Larry,
Yeah.
you asked a question about like how do we do this?
Like
And
how do you discover
I
that?
love that question. Before we get to that, I
Oh.
want to pivot to you. What do you think about all of this? Like for your wedding that you're mentally planning for the future, for your friends, like what do you think if they would have known some of this? Like just what are
I
some of
think
your
it's
thoughts on this?
huge. I have a lot to say, but I'll try to make it concise. I think a big thing is kind of why we're talking about the wedding why is that there's gonna be so many voices in your head. There's mother-in-law, there's father-in-law, there's your mom and dad, there's sisters and brothers. They're all gonna be pitching in things that you need this, you need that, you need this, you need that. And you're
So
at
true.
one point that I've heard multiple of my friends say, like, you come to a point and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is my
Yeah.
day. Like this is about me and my significant other. And so the biggest thing that I've seen recently, especially with my generation, is that it's a comparison game. And even working at Leilucci when I did, I saw a lot of brides and grooms come in that were like, okay, we're getting married at this wedding. I want it kind of simple to that wedding, similar to that wedding, but I want to change it a little bit because like they're the who's who's in Wichita.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, but what's your why? Like, do you really need those lights? Like, but that's not really your style. Like, let's talk about that. Let's actually design it for what you want it to be, not because the who's who's had it at their wedding a couple
Right.
months ago. So the expectations of that, of like comparing yourself constantly
Yeah.
on social media, on other people in Wichita, on other weddings, like it's a cycle. It's a cycle, especially right now in the generation that we're living in.
It's really
So
hard with social media.
it is. You're
It's just
constantly
part of it.
scrolling,
I
and
can
that's
imagine that's like mentally exhausting
yeah,
Yeah.
for couples.
yes. I mean, and one of my best friends, she was talking about how like the budget they had said was just they went way over that because it's like the things that you think about and the little gifts for your bridesmaids, the gifts for your groomsmen, like the earrings you need the day of, like just stuff like that you don't think of. But you see on Instagram, like, dang, this girl got a Louis Vuitton for her maid of honor. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, how is that even possible? Like,
I remember even thinking about that when we were planning our wedding
I
and
bet,
getting married.
yeah.
And I was like, wait, like, is this like traditional? Like, am I supposed to get gifts for our
Yes.
wedding party? Or even like
And even, is this enough? Is what I'm
yeah.
doing
Yes.
even
Is
enough?
this
Yeah.
enough?
Like, is the
Yeah.
and even
Mm.
where when we had our ceremony, I was actually standing on the opposite side of what is traditional because of where I was walking, it just
Yeah.
made more sense for me to walk right into place than do like this full turn. I was like, that's awkward. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, is that okay? And I think like you can question things like that, like within your wedding day. Like it doesn't all have to be just like everybody else's. Like you don't get into the comparison trap.
Yeah.
Like there's freedom to make your own choices. And I think when you do have a choice or make a choice, like stick to it. I think
Yeah.
it's hard once you start.
Believe in it.
Like if you make a decision on something that you love, like don't let those doubts creep back in.
Right.
Don't
Yes.
like
Yeah.
go look, keep looking. Like
Oh,
don't find a
mhm.
dress that you love and then keep looking at dresses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mute for the
know?
time being, unfollow for the
Yes.
time being.
Yes.
Also, another thing that I've seen brides do is like make a separate TikTok account. And so
Oh, that's
that
good.
TikTok account is just for
Like that algorithm picks
saving
up.
wedding
Yeah.
stuff. Because from what I've
Yes.
seen, even when I worked at Lelucci, it was constantly, even my own algorithm was wedding stuff.
Yeah.
And like I even started to save stuff because I'm like, this is my whole
You're like,
feed.
this is
Like,
genius.
this
This
is
is
flooding
perfect.
it. So it's like
You are what you consume.
separating
Yeah.
it. Yeah, separating
Yes,
the
that's
balance
really
of life and
smart.
being able to be like, okay, this is when I'm gonna sit down and wedding plan, I'm gonna log into my TikTok and
That's so
see this
smart. So it
page.
doesn't
Oh, that's
bog down
good.
like your
Oh, that is
You have
personal
like
so
feed.
yeah,
good.
yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Of course, your
Yeah.
generation would figure that out. I know.
Yeah.
That is
I love
genius,
that.
That is
though,
so smart.
because
Yeah.
that can also give you and your partner like still having an intentional relationship outside of being
For
engaged.
sure.
Like you
No,
can
man, that's a
still.
whole
It
other
doesn't have to
topic.
I know, I was
completely
like, do I wanna
consume
open
your
the can of
But no,
worms?
that's
I
but that's so
know.
true. No, it is true. 100%.
Just those little tips, like, along wedding planning that can kind of help you keep your mental health straight. Honestly, at the end of the day, go
Yeah.
to therapy, be in therapy. That's what I
Yeah.
could say.
I
Like,
honestly think now, like everyone should be in therapy. But for sure, like
Yeah.
if you're planning a wedding, like there needs to be like
It can be stressful.
wedding bridal, wedding planning specific therapy,
And I-
sessions that you need to
Yeah,
have.
because your brain will
Yeah.
spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly. I feel like wedding planning is easy for those who can make decisions and stick with them.
Mhm.
It is not an easy process for people who can't.
A lot of those
if-
people, though, I think they're able to do that because they know what they want. If
Yeah,
they
if you know,
in
yeah, I
turn,
was going to say,
they
if you know what
have
you want, and you can
a
make
version
decisions.
of a why.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I know what I want.
I remember when
Yeah.
I was looking for my dress. This has nothing to do with the why.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I remember when I was looking for my dress and I got my dress and I love my dress. But after the fact, I kept seeing dresses,
Yes.
right?
Of course.
And then I was like, and it was even the same designer. And I was like, oh, I didn't try that one on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I had to just continuously repeat to myself. And I think that this goes with, all of
Everything. Yeah.
everything.
For sure.
I had to keep repeating to myself, trust the decision that you made. Trust
Yes.
yourself. Like
trust your decision.
you made that decision for a reason. I know you're second guessing it right now, but just trust yourself. Like it was good in your gut then. Trust you.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
who else can
There's
you
a
trust?
mute
You can't
button
trust
for a
yourself.
reason too on social media now.
Yeah.
Mute those
1,000%.
mute those accounts that you don't want to see
1,000%.
constantly of those bridal stores and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
So should we talk about the how?
Let's talk
Let's
about
get
the how.
practical.
Yeah.
Let's I'm going to run through some of these questions, but instead of just reading on like one at a time rapid fire, let's create a fictional couple and let's create like we're just going to pull this out of our butt and just
Love it.
Okay, I
we're
can-
just going to run with
I
it.
love
So
that.
Got it.
let's do that.
We had a fictional couple at one point.
Are we
Did-
going to pick names?
Oh,
Not
yeah,
that
we
far?
did.
We had
What
like
was it?
Michael and I don't remember
love
her
I don't
Michael.
remember the
name.
name.
His was Michael.
But you
for
know
sure.
want to
But
know one of the
anyways,
most common names?
Aaron. For us.
Well, Aaron, but also like
Oh.
it's just our
I have
age.
Katie.
Like Ashley.
Katie's-
Ashley's like
Ashley.
one of the most popular
That's
names.
Not
true.
anymore.
Like it's not, but I mean like for our
It was
age-
the
our age.
millennial.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
millennials.
Yeah.
I was actually sad that my
Ashley,
name was Ashley.
Stephanie, that kind of stuff.
I was
Yeah.
also, I
Jennifer.
hated that my middle name wasn't Marie. I feel like everybody.
Everybody-
Oh, my
yeah.
best
Marie,
friend's middle name was
Marie. Yeah.
Marie, and I was like, oh,
I literally.
Jean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's so cute. Well, thank you, but
That
it
is
wasn't
so-
Marie or
I love that.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Oh,
Elizabeth, lots of Elizabeths.
Lots
Yeah.
of Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So who do we
let's
have?
do this. So
Who's our
we're gonna
couple?
do John
Okay.
and Jenny.
Okay.
Oh,
We're gonna
okay.
do John and Jenny.
I love the
Okay.
alliteration.
Yeah.
And-
I do
JJ.
love alliteration.
John and Jenny, and they live in the Midwest.
Perfect.
Okay.
where we are. We're in Wichita, Kansas, but they live in the Midwest. And they are very excited about their wedding. They are not partiers.
Mhm.
Okay.
They're not partiers. They are.
But do they have lots of friends?
They have the friends that they have. A few close friends.
They have a
Okay.
lot of acquaintances.
They have a lot of acquaintances. You
Big
know,
family or no?
one of them has who has a big family, who doesn't?
John has a big
I was gonna say
family.
he
Yeah.
has a big
John's
family.
got a big family.
Yeah,
John's got a
Jenny.
big
Jenny might
family.
be an only child.
Jenny,
Okay.
I love only
Okay.
Jenny's
child
an only
She's an only
child.
child.
yeah.
Jenny's an only
Um,
child.
And they are a little more conservative.
I think she's a nurse
She's a nurse.
or
Yeah.
a teacher. She's a nurse or a teacher.
Yeah. And John's in finance. He's
Oh,
like,
that's a good
Nice.
one. That's a good one.
He's in finance.
Perfect.
So anyways, that's a little bit about them. They are like
How long have they been together?
10 years.
And what do they do with their free
Wow.
time together? That is a long time.
So,
That
10
is a
years
long
they've been
time.
together.
So why?
10
They've been
now,
together
like-
since they were like 15.
Yeah. So they're high school sweethearts. So maybe 10 years is a long time. It makes John seem like he has commitment issues.
No,
maybe.
unless like,
But I feel like in the
unless they're,
Midwest, I mean, like
yeah,
a lot
that's
of
not
it.
uncommon.
Not that I mean, high school seniors is like rarer, but people get together and kind
Yeah,
of
but if
stay
they're like,
Go
if
together.
they've
through
been together 10 years,
college?
15, they're 25, you know? Okay, so it's been 10 years, but not because, it's because
Mm.
they got together
Like,
in
when
high
they
school.
were little.
When they were
Young.
younger.
Okay.
Little is
Little's like
exaggeration. I
kindergarten.
don't
No,
mean
it's
little.
like younger. Okay, so
I had a couple once, and they were childhood neighbors,
wait a minute.
and then they
So
became
cute.
high school sweethearts. But it like started because they were
No,
neighbors.
that
It's
one
so
of
cute.
my close friends, her sister was like that. Her and her husband, they met in like 5th grade, I think, or like liked each other in 5th grade, dated middle school, high school, got married.
And
Isn't
it's
that
just
crazy?
it's so cute.
I think it's
I look at
adorable.
those stories. I'm like, oh man, that was not mine.
No.
John and Jenny feel Pacific Northwest, but they're in the Midwest.
Okay.
So they
Interesting.
feel Pacific Northwest, but
So they're
conservative
cool.
also.
So they're
anyways,
cool but
They
conservative.
love
Yeah.
they both love
Cool
to
but
read.
conservative.
Yeah.
Okay.
They both love to read. They're not big outdoorsy people.
Okay.
They prefer to do like if they're going to do outdoorsy, they're hitting up farmers markets, stuff like that. They love brunch.
So they like the same stuff.
yeah, they really
They're
do.
like-
They are like we're two.
Again,
peas
they
in a
grew
pod.
up together.
Yeah, so they are
Okay.
like
Okay.
that whole thing. And yeah, that's a little about them.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna craft something based off
Okay.
of this. Okay, we don't have to think too hard about it, but
Okay.
um.
I'm like in this game.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm ready.
Close.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
so
Know
this is
them.
the first one. We don't have to do this, but you can. Close your eyes and imagine your perfect wedding day
As
Jenny.
John and
as
Jenny.
John and Jenny.
Okay.
What emotions do they feel? What moments stand out as the most meaningful to John and Jenny? So, what emotions do they feel? And what moments are going to feel the most meaningful for them?
I feel like they want to feel calm.
I
That's
agree.
that's what but I was thinking. Pacific Northwest feels kind of like a hug,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
And they're readers,
The readers.
so like they want to feel calm, but also like I don't know about you guys. I also was picturing them, you know. I don't know what phrase the Gen Z use now, but like I picture them kind of more as like hipsters,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
They're not like
cool.
partiers, but they're cool. I
like
I
to
don't know. Were you
vibe. Yeah.
continuing?
I'm
I
like-
was gonna say I
like
actually I am,
laughter. I see.
yes,
Like,
I imagine them getting ready together. Actually,
Yeah.
I think because you said they're not like big partiers. There's like I feel like a
And they do
quiet, calm
everything
energy, and they do
together.
everything together, and they've been together for so
Mhm.
Yeah.
long. Like they are probably each other's comfort person.
oh, you're probably right.
Yep.
And so I imagine like
And
that
you know
would be
John
a
and Jenny
good-
really well.
Yeah, I do. I feel like
This
I
is
know them.
awesome.
I feel like they very much would
Okay, so
want to grab, or
emotions-
at least grab coffee together in the morning.
So
before
emotions-
Yeah,
they
they
go
want
their
to do
separate ways.
something.
Okay, so
Yeah.
emotions they want to feel
Calm.
calm.
I love
They
that.
They
feel
want to
calm.
feel a sense of connection and togetherness
Mhm.
Yeah.
on their day.
I feel like they kind of want
Yeah.
to feel like at home.
Comfortable.
Comfortable
Yeah,
at home.
Intimate.
Okay,
Yeah.
intimate. I
Mhm.
can see that. And then what moments of the day can stand out as most meaningful?
Probably
This
getting together, like morning.
Getting the
like,
morning.
Yeah.
The
I think morning
setting
is
the
a
tone
great,
of the day.
yeah. I think
Okay.
setting the tone would be very important for them.
And I think they would love the ceremony.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
kinda
yeah.
what I
Like
thought. I
they
thought the
love
ceremony is like
words
Yeah.
and
big.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ceremony is really important to them. Okay. What are the top 3 values that John and Jenny want their wedding to embody? So values, these are going to be like love, joy, intimacy, fun, authenticity. Like, what is what are their values?
intimacy, I think.
Mhm.
Again, I picture just that hug for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like I don't think they're throwing a rager.
No.
No.
I
Yeah.
think it's maybe 100 people ish, like you
Yeah.
know, 75 to like 125
And like, yeah,
ish.
mostly his family or something. 'Cause it's
So,
bigger.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So
yeah.
a little bit of intimacy they feel. That's a value.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think they value authenticity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Being their authentic selves. I think they also value family,
Okay.
but Jenny doesn't necessarily have like the best family, but
Maybe
John's family
she still has a
taken.
great family, even though they're small.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yes,
Well, let's do
that's a good
that.
way to
That's
Okay.
put it. Yeah.
true.
She's
So
an only child, but like she's really
She's super close
let's
to
do
her
it.
mom
Okay.
and
Yeah.
dad.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So, but I think so. I don't know with family, but yeah, family could be a value.
Yeah.
Like
And that
their
could be
immediate family.
probably be why they're having a wedding reception ceremony, because they
Yes.
kind of seem like a couple that could totally just go to the courthouse. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
So
they kind
here's
of feel like why
they could.
So it's
yes.
they
taking shape.
seem
So
like that vibe.
this exercise is helping, like it's taking shape. Like what emotions, what's gonna stand out, what's it gonna feel like, what are the values? Next thing, when they look back on their wedding day in 20 years, what memories will they cherish forever?
Hearing each other's personal vows.
Yes.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that'll be big. Yeah.
Yeah.
The moments they had together.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have. They had like a big wedding.
Yeah. And probably even those, like I can see them like looking back and being like, man, when like the morning like of our
Yeah.
day was like
Yeah.
is like
Favorite
huge.
time.
Like we went out and we we ate here.
Yeah.
We did, like we got
I
coffee
think
here.
I think that they would even like to remember how like relaxed and easy and maybe even natural the day felt. Like it
Yeah.
didn't feel like
A performance.
yes, I think that would be important, that it didn't feel like a performance to
Mhm.
them, that it didn't feel like this big production,
Yeah.
that it just felt very natural and organic and relaxed and
Yeah.
comfortable.
And if the family is so important to them that they got moments with the
them,
people that they love,
Agreed.
because
Yeah.
that's easy to pass over as well
Yeah.
without thinking about it. And maybe also like they really appreciated a very overlooked piece of the wedding day and they super loved their rehearsal
yeah,
because they loved
yeah.
the dinner. Like they loved that intimacy of
Yes.
it. And that is a very overlooked event that's
Mhm.
very special.
So if you are a listener, I bet you are imagining things, you're seeing things. You probably imagine what John and Jenny look
They're
like.
probably
like,
trying to figure out
yeah,
John and
yeah,
Jenny too.
all
Yeah.
of this. So we're gonna start to move through some of these a little quicker. But what do they want their wedding guests to feel throughout their wedding day celebration?
special.
Special, intimate, being together.
I love that.
Yeah.
Special. Okay. What elements of their love story do John and Jenny want to incorporate into their wedding day?
Okay, well, they're high school sweethearts and they're readers.
Yep.
I think
And
like-
they like brunch.
Okay. So they're
love
words
that.
people. They're probably words people.
Maybe
could
writing those letters that
I
we
could
talked
see
about
John
earlier.
and Jenny doing the letters.
Yeah.
I
To all
could
the
see that.
tables.
I can see
Yeah.
them somehow
Totally.
incorporating their favorite books.
yeah.
Oh, like
into
a
the day,
centerpieces.
The
Yeah.
centerpieces.
Sign
or,
our favorite. This is
yeah.
like we fell in love in English class. This is where we met and we were reading the Odyssey or something
Yeah.
like that,
Something,
you know?
something.
Little touches. Yeah.
I could see quotes from their favorite books somewhere. Maybe like they're not going to do a ton of signage or crazy signage, but maybe they're going to do some small calligraphy thing.
I
like,
imagine like
you
even
know.
just like sharing more of their story. Like 10 years is a long time to live with someone, before a marriage like begins.
Okay, so
And
this
I feel
that
like
actually
sharing
is
that.
a different question. That's the next one. What elements of your love story do you want to incorporate into the wedding day? Like
Mhm.
what
Been together
elements
for 10 years.
Yeah, there's like quite a bit that they could
They
share.
may have a
They
ton of
probably lived some
photos
life. Yeah.
to share
Yes.
throughout the years?
yeah.
Like, hey, here was us at the middle school dance, or here, like
Mhm.
all of these different milestones. So they may have a timeline wall, or somewhere there's going to
Yeah.
be photos of them.
Yeah.
Something like they're going to have. Shoot, they may even pull out a projector and have a
I
slideshow.
was
Yeah.
just thinking, and we didn't ever say they like games, but I'm going to pretend it for a
I
second.
feel
I
like
could see
they
they like
would.
games.
I
Okay.
feel like they probably like
So say
games.
they like games and they want to intertwine some of the things that they love. And because they've been together for 10 years, maybe every table has a little letter,
Mhm.
but every table also has inside of that envelope a scavenger hunt. And together they all have to because they're not ragers, they don't want to party.
Yeah.
So instead,
But they wanna-
maybe we're
yeah.
scavenger hunting for photos and we're trying to you find them in this order
Yeah,
or
and you have
something,
to,
and they're
yep.
around like an escape room, but not an escape room,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's like doing activities together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that.
Okay. Complete this sentence. At the end of their wedding night, we'll know it was a success if.
I feel like if people felt love or like seen. I don't know.
I have this image of like if people were like talking and laughing and just
Yes.
like
Yeah.
Enjoying
they
each other's
saw
Enjoyed
like
company.
their
each other.
guests
Yeah.
just like sitting down at tables, and the
Relaxed.
ties are undone a little bit, and
Relaxed.
it's just
Literally, I
relaxed.
get
But
like
there's
a
lots
relaxed
of
Maybe
vibe.
instead of circular tables, because of this, like they want to promote a relaxing atmosphere, so they do more of like the lounge style.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
You know,
that.
I
with
love
That's a
it.
really good
lounge
idea.
style, and dinner is bites, so they can just like
Move freely
all the time.
all the
and
time.
like,
I
yeah.
love that.
The next two questions, I'm gonna let them be a surprise, but there's two more. But this exercise right here is like what we would suggest to do to figure out your
Mhm.
wedding why. And very quickly, you can start to see what you want your wedding to feel like. And man,
Like
maybe
what's important to you.
maybe it feels like the traditional thing that we see in America all the time. Maybe it doesn't. Or
Mhm.
maybe it's 50% traditional and then 50% not. But like this allows you to weave in your story, who
Mhm.
you are. What this also does too is I know the most annoying part about wedding planning is all of the like, hey, did you think of this? Or hey, you should do this. Or it's just the unsolicited advice.
For
Having a
sure.
wedding why allows you to go, man, thanks so much for sharing that. And like, that's a complete sentence. But if
Yeah.
people continue to ask, you can say, hey, actually, we've talked about like, we have a wedding why. Here's our wedding why, and here's what we're doing. And you can share that. And a lot of times people think they're being helpful, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this also gives them a way to be hopeful, because they might come across a TikTok with books, and they know that your
Yeah.
why is to share your love of books, and they're like, "Did
This is
you
perfect for
see
them.
this?"
Yeah.
And then they can
and then maybe it
actually,
actually
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
helpful instead of
Yeah.
like, you should get this electronic, EDM DJ. And they're like,
Yeah.
that's not us.
That's
Yeah.
us all.
But
Yeah.
it's like it's so nice if you have that wedding why. It's like if they suggest
that
that, you don't
bumper.
even have to think about it. You can
Mhm.
literally let it go in one ear and out the other.
But this, again, this is going to be the fifth or sixth time I've said this. Go download this PDF. It's in the show notes. Super easy. You just sign up, and then you'll get an email. It'll go, and you can print this out. Print it out. It's pretty. It's colorful. It's designed well, and it's very functional. Shout out to
Woo!
Ashley for designing it.
Yes.
But
Shout out Ashley.
there have all these questions, and there's boxes for you guys to actually fill it out in. Or you can, if you need more room, you get out a piece of paper. But like, this will do a few things. This will give you your wedding why. It will also give you and your partner a sense of closeness and like
your
like
team.
you're a
Yeah.
team. You feel like you're in this together. So like,
Yeah.
Both people have says too.
yes,
They should.
Yeah.
yes, and
It's
it
bringing-
may take
yeah.
multiple sessions to get through all
Mhm.
this, but like make a date out of it. Get your favorite drink of choice. Get your favorite, snack. Do a little charcuterie, like whatever, and make it
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
thing. And do this, like on the weekend or whenever.
Justin, my husband, is not somebody who would like love a wedding,
Yeah.
and like at all. He is also just like very in his own lane, let's say.
Yeah.
And
I like
he-
that description.
right?
He marches to the beat of his own drum.
He
Yeah.
does. He does. And he loved this.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
did this for our wedding, he absolutely ate it up because he felt included. He felt
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times I feel like the guys, the answer. They're just like, you show up on the wedding day and you ask them, like, are you so excited? And they're like, I
Mhm.
have no idea what's happening, to be honest with
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of
They're
them
like, this is the
do.
first time I'm
It,
seeing
it
this.
gets
Yeah.
them pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, what were you going to say?
Well, I know you said you have two questions,
Mhm.
but like we haven't quite gotten to the why yet,
Okay.
right? Like
yeah. I've
with-
got a couple-
with Jenny and
Oh, with Jenny and
John.
John.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
we are on-
Duh, we're on a
Yeah.
cliffhanger.
we're
Sorry.
brainstorming.
Yeah,
We're
so let's do this.
brainstorming about, because this is like the process, right? You don't just land on your why.
Yeah. You have to
You-
craft it. You have to, so, God, duh, dude, I was about to close this episode
I'm
out.
literally like, hold
Yeah.
on, what is
Yeah,
their
yeah.
why?
So you take all of this information and you use it to craft a sentence or two to like bring it all together as to like why.
Yeah.
So here's this.
Because you
what
start
this
to see
says.
patterns in
It
these
says-
answers.
It
Yeah.
says, remember, this is like some text at the very end of this exercise. Remember, your wedding why is the secret ingredient that will make your celebration unforgettable. By staying connected to your core purpose, you'll be able to create a day that authentically represents your love story and brings joy to everyone who shares in it, and empowers you to make decisions that align with your why and not care so much about things that don't relate to your why. So that's kind of that last little tidbit, but like, bring it together, bring it home. Like, what's their why? What's Jenny and John's why? What's their North Star?
To share with this is how it feels to me, to share with everyone they love their history.
Yeah.
Like,
their
Yeah,
love.
that's
Yeah.
how
Oh my
it
gosh.
feels.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me make this a little to relive their past, celebrate their present, and look forward to their future. Like
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. Like that's their why. We're
Mhm.
like gonna reminisce in our with our best friends and love, like
Yeah.
with all of our
Yes.
loved ones.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like, and I know that that's kind of broad, but like
It's
it's
really
also
about
kind of
celebrating
yeah,
the past,
yes,
and how beautiful it was.
and like we want you guys to be here now today and like
Feel
know,
included in it
included in this,
too.
celebrate with us, and then like you guys are gonna be a part of our story moving forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So then
I
whenever
like that.
they see a TikTok and it is or like, they see the party pictures on the dance floor with the glow sticks, the foam sticks,
Yeah.
and they start to feel,
Like, well, are people gonna want to? Are people gonna want
should
that?
I buy those? Should I get the sunglasses for the dance
Yeah.
floor? And then they're like, hold on,
Yeah. Like,
is
why
this
am I
about
planning such a
celebrating my
dance floor?
past?
Also, they're
Is
not
the-
even Jenny and John aren't even gonna have a DJ at their wedding.
So then
That's
it's
what-
like,
yeah, it kinda
stop
feels like
stop
that.
doing the comparison. Stop.
But
Like,
they're
you have
like-
to tell yourself, stop.
But
stop,
they're
stop,
like,
stop.
remember we went to Susie and Steve's wedding and it was a rave.
They-
Everyone
And it was a
Yeah.
rager,
And it was
everyone
so
on the
fun. Are
dance
people
going
going
to
to
think
think
it's
it's
fun.
fun?
But Jenny
Are
and
people gonna
John
think
would
it's
like have a
lame?
curated playlist.
They would have a curated playlist.
They might have
Yes.
thought
Yeah.
about like what would feel good.
Some like John
Yeah.
Mayer or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Some little hipster bands.
Yeah,
that we don't
because I
even know
think
who they are.
music is important, but I think that they would want to control like the tone.
Yeah.
of how
Music
it
for them
feels.
is less about being an activity and more about setting
And
the
A feeling.
environment
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
creating an
Yeah.
environment.
yeah. So,
So
that why celebrating our past and looking at all of the information that is incoming from friends, from the internet, from social media, it can allow you to be like, hold on, stop in your tracks,
mhm.
or have somebody you love check you when you
Yeah.
For
start
sure.
to get off track, and they're like, hey, wasn't it like your goal to have all of the people that you love celebrate your past with you and like be right here with you in your present? And you're like, oh crap.
and like to tell your
Yes,
story,
right.
like
Yes.
Yeah.
and maybe and then if that's a part of it, maybe there's maybe on the tables, right, like, or these seating areas, there's like photo albums that you've created with all of your friends and family from your past, right? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so you
Ooh.
incorporate that.
Or
So that's
details
just
that
stuff
Or
matter
maybe
that's
to
this
like,
is a
you.
thing where
It's
it's like
details.
Yes, that
You don't
matter
have-
to you.
you don't have these really fancy lamps and stuff like that, but you do choose to do like, we're just gonna have some candles that we got at Dollar General, and then we're gonna have some like these photo albums that tell all of our stories
Yeah.
together. You know,
and
like,
I
it's
imagine
stuff
like
that.
Jenny and John, they wouldn't be doing like maybe even all the traditional dances, or
Mhm.
they're definitely not doing a garter
Mhm.
toss or bouquet toss. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like, how does that even feel
Yeah.
like?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and whenever we think about, earlier you were talking about the financials and how
Mhm.
this helps. Like when we were thinking about Jenny and John and the 3 priorities that they have in their whole entire wedding, this will continue to guide them to not also spend money on things that don't matter, like
Yeah.
a DJ,
Yeah,
right?
Mhm.
for sure.
You're like, if we're not big dancers,
like why?
why?
Yeah.
You know, we don't really need, and you know, if there's going to be movement within the dinner that's naturally happening, why do we need
Or the
all this?
scavenger hunt or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
or that. It's
Mhm.
like, do we need this like additional movement of having an MC guiding the night?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be natural movement that happens
Oh,
within the
absolutely.
party. You know,
For sure.
And to caveat, maybe she's not a nurse. Maybe she's an interior designer. So maybe she cares about the lamps. Maybe she,
maybe
like
she does, yeah.
Yeah.
it
yes,
totally is
It's your
human and
day.
human dependent.
yes,
100%.
yes,
We hope that like as you guys have listened to this, that like you will get excited about like wedding why and like going through this whole process. And again, you can do this at any point. You can do this mid planning, and
Yeah.
if you hear this and it moves you, and you're like, you know what, this is the missing piece that we felt like we've needed.
yeah.
What if somebody's getting married in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Most things are planned, right? And they're like, crap, that is where I missed the mark.
Yeah.
In what way? I mean, I feel like I think it would still be beneficial
think-
because then they're like, okay, wait, how can I find fulfillment in the event that I've created?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
yes, because I
Yeah.
think if they can't ask themselves that question, they'll be asking themselves that
Afterwards.
And
Like,
there,
was it
there might
good?
be, there might
Then
be
you go to another
disappointment
wedding and then you're
there.
gonna
They might be
compare.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
And you never know.
like-
And there might even be some small tweaks that you can make. Like maybe the venue that you're at has you've chosen round tables, but it's not a big deal for them to swap out to their long table.
Farm tables.
Yeah, whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's so many different things, or like you can just find fulfillment in what you've created. You can manage your expectations, like even that piece of this for
Mute those
what you
people on
have,
Instagram
like
and those Instagram accounts and
truly
Yeah.
at the very beginning, the middle, and 2 weeks out, like this is still applicable.
yeah.
And I think that this can really, really, really help you no matter where you're at. So we hope this episode has been helpful. If it has, I'm gonna give us 3 calls to action, and you got to take one of them, or you can take all 3 of them.
Challenge accepted.
So number 1, go follow us on Instagram at vow. Is it vow.ict?
Vow.ict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vow.
I asked myself that a lot too, and I'm like,
ICT.
it's the dot. It's
yeah,
the dot.
vow.ict. That's gonna be the hub for all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Go download the toolkit. Go do it. It's gonna be great. There's
It's
3
linked in our
other-
bio
yeah,
too.
Yeah, it's linked in the bio as well. It's also in the show notes. Go do that. And then the third thing I'm gonna ask you to do is share this with someone that you think could find this useful.
Mhm.
Whoever, like, let's say you know someone that's getting married or they're engaged. If you're a wedding vendor that's a part of Vow and you're listening to this, share this with your couples. The whole goal of this podcast is to provide helpful information to couples who are planning their weddings. So
Mhm.
that's anyone got anything else?
Think we
Anything
did.
else? Anything else?
Did it.
Anything else? First one down.
Nice.
We did it.
Congratulations.
All right, guys.
Yay.
We
See
are
ya.
out. There. Perfect.
Nice. We did
I
it.
don't know how long we went. We might have gone an hour.
You
think? Yeah.
Really?
Well, that gives you an hour of clips.
That's a lot of content.
Hey, they have this thing now to where you can